Ivy Valentine subscribes to Mark Yoon, so should you. Enjoy your treat!
In Soulcalibur 6, Azwel is seen gathering all this information and trying to put together the ultimate seed, in which he called, which would ultimately be a master sword or something akin to that. But I think this is a really good idea that they could bring into Soulcalibur 7, and I'm going to explain why. So, the ultimate seed failed to come to fruition in Soulcalibur 6, and there's a reason why Azwel was so gung-ho about actually creating this ultimate seed. And just like the other two swords from which it came, we would actually see that this would imbue the user with all of its ultimate power. Now, this would ultimately probably only be able to be defeated by both of the swords combining their energies, or something like it can't even affect them kind of thing. Like the Soulcalibur and Soul Edge wouldn't be able to even stand a chance against this ultimate seed. So we would have to find some other way to defeat the sword, or to destroy the sword, or to have one of the heroes utilize the sword for like a second without being corrupted, and then finally finding a way to destroy it. But Azwel really wanted to get his hands on this thing, and all of his research shows that this was his main top priority. So obviously, something this vascular and important to the story would turn everything on its head, so to speak. So if we want to take this ultimate seed and actually have it come to fruition in Soulcalibur 7, and have the ultimate sword that's finally realized, or finally comes to light, so to speak, I would want it to be the way and the portal to either have Algol come back into this dimension by either possessing the sword, and then such way actually having Ishka Oct wield it, or somebody else wield it, then having actually Algol possess the user, since they are in control of the sword. And we've seen that the swords usually possess the users in order to get what their desired reaction is. So this may sound like convoluted and weird, but it is a plot point that started in Soulcalibur 6, so I think it could go into Soulcalibur 7. And I have always said that I don't want Algol to be the final boss in Soulcalibur 7. If he does make more of an appearance, it should be in a possession type of deal. I don't want the character back again fully, because that was part of the reason why they wrote themselves into a corner before, unless he has some kind of big nerf. And the big nerf would have to be something that would involve the ultimate seed, I would think. Because if you bring him back and able to wield Soulcalibur and Soul Edge by himself, since like in the past timeline he created them, we don't know what happened in this timeline. But if he did and so do that and come back as his like god form like he was before, there would be little to actually stop him. Even though we have like the mages and Hwang Sung-young and his hero role and all that stuff going on beyond the scenes, they would probably be the ones to come up with some kind of like counterplay to this. But the better option would be to have Azwel still lurking behind the scenes, working on the ultimate seed, and using Ishka Oct and the Swords and Shepherds that are trying to do their own goals to bring this sword into fruition, and kind of tricking them to gather the evil shards, and then somehow being able to incorporate that into Soulcalibur as well, and creating a third completely brand new artificial sword, which is again what the plot was for 6. Then I can see that he finds his way trying to use it for himself, and either the sword overpowers him, and this is how he meets his demise, or Ishka Oct is completely taken over by Algol, and even though he's not there in visage, he is there in spirit pretty much, and working through her through the sword. And the way to overthrow her would be kind of stopping him from coming back, and he's not back all the way yet. Obviously, he can come back in some form or fashion later on, but I think this is something that needs and requires build-up, since this is a new timeline, and I don't want to see him just like pop back in automatically. There are a lot of things that like a lot of people want to see. I know a lot of people really want to rehash certain aspects of older games and the older timeline, but I think that's kind of a waste unless you're looking at it from a completely different angle, like something happens but it happens differently per se. Things like with Raphael and Amy, things with, well, that stuff is going to go whichever way it happens anyway, but I know some people wanted to stick pretty close to how it was before just because they like those games and they like those character arcs in those games. But with the vast amount of changes that we've seen, I think it's a better option to have it be coming from a different way. Like maybe shine light on different characters and have those characters still going on their own arcs, but it's a different story from what it was before. I think a good opportunity for the Swords and Shepherds, as I've said many times before, is to pair up like they do with the Akatsuki, like in Naruto, and have each of the heroes actually being able to fight against this pair as a team. And I think a good arc, like I said before, for Viola and Zwei would be to encounter Raphael and some counter agent part of Amy, even if it's something that's like done with like Elysium like before, or something. I haven't like really thought about this too much. I'm just coming up with this now, but just some way that they can actually incorporate both characters into the game and having them go up against each other. And I don't think they should actually defeat all of the Swords and Shepherds actually in the one game. I think this should be a big build-up thing, so we actually have things going on in the background and things that can actually be saved for a sequel, or even for the secondary story mode where you see what happened to the other Swords and Shepherds, like in Libra of Souls mode in that game, or something akin to that. But the Ultimate Seed will definitely, I think, be the main focal point, or should be the main focal point of this game. It should be not that we're necessarily stopping Algol from coming back fully, but that we should be stopping the Evil Seed, or destroying the Evil Seed, or whatever this third sword is, so that he doesn't have that portal to come back. And when destroying that sets his plans back, but he's still out there, we'll see him like at the end credits or something, like still whispering to somebody. And something like that. We can actually incorporate Viola more in this, or Amy, with like using her psychic abilities, or showing like a possible potential future in the orb, stuff like that. But there's a lot of things that can go on that I think would be really neat and really fun. These are just like some thoughts that I have, though. I really want to hear what you guys have to think. Do you think the Ultimate Seed is done and finished as a story point, or do you think that is something that was touched on and seeded there for a reason, so that we can have a bigger storyline with that in the future? Any thoughts are always welcome in the comment section down below. And before we end the video, I want to get to the last video's poll, where I actually stated, do you think timelines and multiverse concepts ruin narrative, especially in video games like Soulcalibur or Mortal Kombat? 16% of people said yes, they can get confusing. 68% of people, which was the overwhelming majority, said they need good writing. 13% of people voted for no, they are cool. 3% of people said other, explain, which you can actually see the comments as we're talking about this now. This is out of a pool of 358 votes. If I was going to vote for this, I would side with the majority here in that they need good writing aspect. We did talk about this in the last video, so you can click at the end screen to see what we were talking about, but definitely can write themselves in the corners if they have timelines and time travel and multiverses and all this string theory stuff like built into it. It definitely needs good actual scientific writing that has to be literate to a majority of audiences, not just a specified group of people. But that's neither here nor there. We could talk about this again later in the future. If you would like to continue the conversation, please do so in the comment section down below, or you can find a link to my Discord, where you can also download all the music that I use for my channel that I created. Any thoughts are always welcome, and as I always said, guys, I love it. Thank you.
And thank you.
Driving to the sunrise, sunrise. Got me feeling alright, alright. Ocean rays in your eyes, your eyes. Diving deep, you're all